In this video, we're going to go through examples 12.13 to 12.16 in your book. If you'd like to follow along, open the Chapter 12 Classwork.xlsx workbook from My Courses and click on the EX 12.13 worksheet tab. In example 12.13, we're going to find two different ways to calculate the average profit, and we're going to see that both are going to produce different results. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to average all of our historical candy sales. So in cell D22, I'm going to type equals average, and then average all of our historical candy sales from cell D2 down to D21. So equals average D2 to D21. Close up the parentheses, and we see that I have 44.05. So, since we can only sell whole units, I'm going to put 44 into the demand, and we see that with 44 units we have a profit of $264. Now we're going to construct a data table to see what the average is based on these historical candy sales. Now we're going to construct a one-way data table like you see in figure 1221. Although we have the bin in frequency here, so I'm going to put it out a little bit farther to the right. So in cell L1, I'm going to type in my sales, and I'm just going to copy the range D2 down to D21. I am not going to include the average, so I'm going to select D2 to D21, hover over the range, right click, choose copy, and then just click cell L2. Don't select the range that you're going to paste to, and I'm just going to hover over the cell, right click, and just choose the first paste. Now in cell M1, I'm going to type the formula that I want to appear in column M, which is the profit. So I'm going to type equals, and then I'm going to click on the green cell, B17. So I'm telling Excel that that's what I want to show in that column. That is the results of the formula. Now I'm going to select the range L1 down to M21. I'm going to click Data. In the forecast group, I'm going to click What If Analysis and Data Table. So I don't have a row input cell. I only have a left column. I don't have any data across the top row. So I'm going to click in Column Input Cell, and I'm going to click cell B11 Demand, and then I'm going to click OK. And it fills in all of the different profits given all of the different demands. So when I type equals average, and I'm not going to include the header, I'm just going to take the average of all of the profits from cell M2 down to M21, close up the parentheses and hit enter. I see that my average is $255. So should we trust the average of the units, or should we trust the average of the dollar sales? Again, both of them are going to give us different answers. Now we're going to move on to example 12.14. Now we're going to work on example 12.14. In example 12.14, we're going to use a custom distribution. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on cell B11, and we're going to use a custom distribution. So I'm going to click on the Analytic Solver. Remember, you only have the Analytic Solver and the Data Mining tabs if you've purchased the Analytic Solver add-in based on what I have posted on my courses. If you have not done that, you're going to have to do this in the computer lab in Dana 312. So I'm going to click on Analytic Solver, and again making sure that I've clicked on cell B11 first, Analytic Solver, and then Distributions. We're going to click Custom, and then Disuniform. We're going to click under parameters. We're going to click in the values box, and we get that little box. Clicking that little pop-up box gives us our values. We can't really pull this out of the way, but we want the range D2 down to D21 in our values, and then click OK. So we've now set our custom discrete distribution, and we're going to click Save. Now at this point they want us to rerun the simulation. So if you remember, there are 4 steps to run a simulation. The first step is to set the distributions. In this case we only have one distribution for the demand. The second step is to set the output cell. In this case it's the one in green. So notice if I click the green cell, I already have the plus psi output. So that has already been set for the simulation. If you did not see the plus psi output, you could either just type it at the end of the formula, or in the Analytic Solver tab in the Simulation Model group, just click Results and then In Cell. I don't want to do that now because I'll get the formula twice. Then the third step is to hit the Options button. So Analytic Solver tab, Options group, click Options, set the number of trials. We're maxed out at 2500 with our student software, so I'll choose 2500, and then make sure that you've chosen Monte Carlo and click OK. And then the final step is to just run the simulation. So in the Solve action, I click the down arrow under Simulate and then click Run Once. And I now have the results of my simulation. These are all of my variable cells. And if you remember, I will discard this. And to get the results, you just double click the green cell, the results cell, and it gives you the results and all of the statistics. I am just going to click Close. And we have now finished example 12.14. Now we're going to move on to example 12.15. So I'm going to click the EX 12.15 worksheet tab. Up until now, we've been choosing the distribution. Given this data, we're going to let Excel choose the distribution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the range D2 down to D21. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the Analytic Solver tab. In the Tools group, I'm going to click Tools, and then I'm going to click Fit. So we have our sample data, and it gives us different options for our goodness of fit test. We're going to make sure to click the discrete button. This is not a continuous distribution. We can't have values of 42.7 or 46.875. We have to have whole numbers, so make sure that discrete button is checked, and then we're just going to click Fit, and it gives us the best fitting distributions. I'm just going to close this, and it asks, do we wish to accept the fitted distribution? So we say yes, and now it asks us to select a cell to place the fitted distribution, and we will put that into cell B11. And now we've been able to use a fitted distribution in our model. And now we're going to move on to example 12.16. Moving on to example 12.16, we're going to click the EX 12.16 worksheet tab. In example 12.16, we're going to use some custom distributions. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the value in cell B12 because it looks like they've already put the distribution in there, and also the value in B14 for the cancellations. I'm going to delete that as well. Then I'm going to click on cell B12 I'm going to click the Analytic Solver tab. I'm going to click Distributions, Custom, and then Discrete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this out to the side a little bit so I can see columns D and E. Now in the parameters, I'm going to click in the values. I'm going to click the box next to values, that little box with the red arrow in it, and I'm going to, in that values box, select the range D2 down to D13 and then click OK. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the weights. I'm going to click in the weights box. I'm going to click that little box over there with the red arrow, and in the weights box I'm going to select the range E2 down to E13 and click OK, and then I'm going to click Save. Now we're going to model the number of cancellations. So I'm going to click in cell B14. We want that to be blank, otherwise we get a base case and it's going to mess up some of our probabilities. I'm going to click the Analytic Solver tab, then Distributions, Discrete, and Binomial. So in the Trials box, we're going to click that red box, and for the number of trials, we're going to click on cell B13. It's very important that we not use a discrete number or an absolute number, because this model keeps changing, and if we use a number that's too high, the model may not work. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to accept the probability, and then just click Save. So now we've got our first steps done in our Monte Carlo simulation. The next step that we need to do is to set the output cells. So I'm going to click on cell B17. I already see that there's the psi output. If the psi output was not there, I would have clicked Results and then In Cell, but it's already there. And the same thing with B18. I can see that the psi output is already there. Or I could just add the plus psi output, open parentheses, close parentheses, to the end of the formula. The third step, still on that Analytic Solver tab, is to click the Options button. Our maximum is 2500, so we'll stretch our system to the max and do the max of 2500, and make sure that we use Monte Carlo, and then click OK. And then the fourth step, simulate and run once. And we've incorporated those custom distributions and variability. And to see the results, discard. We can just double click any of the result cells to see the results of the simulation.